everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, July 2nd of 2023. Now here in the U.S., we're a couple of days away from July 4th, which is our Independence Day. And so I thought I would spend today's video talking about what freedom means to me. Now, I've gone through and looked at a couple things. I wrote down a ton of notes, and I found some really great references of what other people have considered of what their definition of freedom is, and so many of these resonated with me. Now, please keep in mind, when I talk about any of these concepts, it doesn't mean freedom to hurt another person, freedom to take another person's property. All of those things that we know of being a moral part of and having our own moral compass when it comes to being part of a society that functions with love and connection and guidance of our own, what we know is the right thing to do. So when I talk about these things, please know that it doesn't mean the right to hurt another person or take from another person in any way, shape, or form. That is not what any of this means. So to me, I've thought about this so much during this last week. In fact, last Sunday I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about, because it seems like a lot of freedoms and rights of just us being a sovereign human being have really been trampled on these last few years. And you can even, have people demean you because you say, I want the freedom to choose what I do to my own body. So it's been very fascinating, right? So the first thing I did is I looked at what the dictionary said was the definition of freedom. And this is what it says: the quality or state of being free, such as the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action, liberation from slavery or from the power of another. So that's what the dictionary says. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, and change as one wants, without hindrance or restraint. Freedom is the ability to express yourself in the way you want to. There is no uniform on how your life should be. With freedom, you can choose your own moral compass, make your own decisions, and being in a country with freedom means that you can choose your own religion and say what you want. So you might not agree with what others say, but they should still be free to say their own opinions. Like, to me, this is really powerful. And then we get to choose and have the freedom on how we want to respond, right? Freedom of each person coming and going, equity before the courts, security of private property, freedom of opinion and its expression. So I found this little article. I didn't expand any further than this. It was from an article called The Warrior's Way, 3 Types of Freedom. And it's as simple as this. The first type of freedom is the freedom from, which is freedom from the constraints of society. Freedom 2 is the freedom to, a freedom to do what we want to do. So we should be free to do what we want to do. And the third one is the freedom to be, which is a freedom not to just do what we want, but to be who we were meant to be. So the reason I wrote this, I thought that was so powerful, especially number 3, the freedom to be, without constraints on who we were meant to be. I think that is so beautiful. And then here's another sentence I found that really fit. The condition or right of being able or allowed to do, say, think, and etc., whatever we want without being controlled or limited. That's truly beautiful, right? And then I found this. What makes you truly free? If you are truly free, you spend your time in a state of joy and contentment. You are not anxiously anticipating the future or a better day. You are not waiting for permission to enjoy something. I love that. You live in the moment and savor the twists and turns that come with life. Free to be our authentic self, live as we intend, free from debt, to live healthy, free to make mistakes, and freedom from fear. To me, that is so powerful because it's always fear, fear of this and fear of that. We should live free, having freedom from fear. I truly love that. Now, the last thing I found is this amazing article that was actually written in 2015, and I started to make notes on it in my journal, and then I was like, okay, I just need to make a copy of this article. This was from a website called Lifehack, and it was written by a woman named Brianna Johnson, and these are the 15 things that show that you live in a state of freedom, okay? And I'm just going to go through these and expand on them a little bit. I think that some of these will really resonate with you. So number one is that you dread nothing. It is hard to feel free when you wake up every morning and a wave of dread washes over you. Dread about having to go to work, dread about certain troubled relationships, etc. Free people rarely experience this feeling. They either eliminate what doesn't suit them or they change their perspective about it. So a free person doesn't dread anything. To me, that is so powerful. Number two is that your habits serve you. There's a difference between habits and addictions. A truly free person will have habits that they consciously cultivate, like getting exercise in a way that they enjoy. These aren't self-damaging habits like smoking, eating fast food, or spending time with toxic people. Free people have recognized how these things disempower them. Number three, you make your own decisions. You feel restricted from making the decisions you want. It's especially difficult to feel, if you are restricted from making the decisions you want, it is especially difficult to feel free. A free person will ignore negative judgment from others because they know what's best for themselves. They also avoid handing too much power over to people with overbearing and forceful personalities. Free people don't give in to peer pressure and meaningless obligations that don't benefit them. Freedom to make your own decisions. Amazing, right? You are full of energy as a free person. A lack of energy is a barrier to your physical freedom. So those who are truly free will expend their energy in ways they enjoy. They are not constantly running out of energy, but rather always recharging. This includes very different activities for different people, but the overall effect of feeling energized is the same. Perfect, right? We're all different. We need to remember that feeling energy and being full of energy looks different for all of us. We're all in different situations. We've all had different life experiences and different things that have happened in our lives that make us different people. So when you are a free person full of energy, that looks different for many people. Number five is you believe in your abilities. You believe in your abilities. If you believe you can achieve your goals, you free yourself up to move forward with those things. If you are skeptical of your abilities, you feel unable to try or like you don't have the right to try. Free people are aware of their strengths and weaknesses and play life to their own advantage. They don't waste time berating themselves over mistakes and can view them as a learning experience. I love that one too. I think I love all of these, right? Number six, you are financially comfortable. Okay, this one and almost everything that I started really thinking about and looking up when I was really looking at what freedom looks like. To me, this kept popping up in almost everything that I not only thought about, but everything that I researched and found is when you are financially free, when you are debt free, that is one of the most powerful things to being a free human being. This isn't based on the amount of money you earn. Rather, it is dictated by your feelings towards money. Free people may live on very low salaries or very high salaries. Regardless of their actual income, they afford what they need and feel stable instead of constantly stressed. A free person will not feel the need to overspend to reach fulfillment. This one is so powerful, and I've experienced this myself in really, really powerful, life-changing ways. I could do a whole thing on this one, but I'm going to move on. Number 7, you ask for help from others. So this one kind of surprised me, actually. It may seem counterintuitive, but true freedom usually involves help from others. Truly free people will ask for advice to better themselves or ask for direct assistance without feeling embarrassed. They recognize that refusing help from others is a personally imposed restriction on their freedom. Essentially, free people are not governed by pride. Perfect, right? Number 8, you have free time. Obviously, true freedom involves some free time. Even if your schedule is packed, it can be packed with things you decided and want to do. This can also be considered free time because you are living as you intend to live. A free person will divvy up their time into work and play without overindulging in either. Great, right? Number 9, you know yourself. Because freedom involves doing what you want and living how you wish, knowing yourself is a precursor to freedom. Free people know enough about their likes, dislikes, values, standards, and goals to attain freedom. Living by another's standards is a kind of spiritual laziness and is a barrier to freedom that some may not recognize. Let me say that part again. Living by another's standards is a kind of spiritual laziness and is a barrier to freedom that some may not recognize. Number 10, you are independent. Just as freedom involves asking for help when you need it, independence is another significant component. Free people don't feel needy or unstable when they're alone. They also don't depend on others for their basic needs. Now, please remember what I said at the beginning. Every situation is different, and every person is different. So even though I say, and this says in this article, you also don't depend on others for your basic needs. There is always a scope around this and different situations in our lives when we must depend on others for the things that we need. But this is it generally speaking. Like food and clean clothes, yes, free people still need to do their laundry. Basically, free people are not hindered by a sense of helplessness, which prevents people from caring for themselves. That can have a lot of things around it. Number 11, you are physically healthy. This is such a big part of what freedom means. And before I even read this, think about when you are free from taking prescription medications. And I understand that this is necessary for some people. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you are free, you are physically healthy. And when you are physically healthy, you are so free. You're not tethered to anything that's keeping you, where if something dramatic happens or something life-changing happens in the world, there's no panic to get to certain medications or things. You all know what I'm talking about, right? So a truly free person won't find themselves surrounded by prescription pills, medical bills, and junk food. A free person will take their health into their own hands and improve their bodies the best they can when a health problem arises. They won't allow negative addictions to creep in and hold their health hostage. Enough said. Number 12, and there's 15 here. Number 12 is you laugh. As a free person, you are able to realize the power of being happy and laughter. Why does laughing make you free? Because it's your primary right to enjoy yourself and your life. It's your primary right to enjoy yourself and your life. Someone who doesn't laugh is missing out on the simplest and most basic form of freedom. A truly free person will take time out for laughter because they know they deserve it. Think how much better you feel when you laugh. There's a couple of things and accounts I follow on social media that if I need to feel happy just by laughing at something, I will tune in and I'll spend 5 minutes and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I feel better. Or I'll be around, people who laugh. I have a sister who has the most twinkling, joyous laugh. And sometimes I'll call her just to hear her laugh and she has this even twinkle of laughter in her voice as she's talking. It's, we deserve it. We deserve to laugh and be joyful. That is really, we're here to enjoy. And that is such a beautiful concept of being a free human being. Number 13, you fulfill your needs. By now you've realized that your needs must benefit, that your needs must benefit. And this is something that free people consciously monitor. Free people don't wait for their needs to be met by others. They assess them on an ongoing basis. They rest when they need. And they call a friend when they need, and even push themselves to work harder when it's the best thing for them. I love that. Number 14, you don't let others hold you back. Oh my gosh, I love this one. Freedom involves healthy boundaries between you and others. The opposite of this is codependency, which causes people to rely excessively on others for their self-worth. Truly free people don't derive their self-worth from external people or events. They judge themselves according to their own reasonable standards, and they stay on track with their goals regardless of the behavior of others. You don't let others hold you back. That is a beautiful definition of what it means to be a free person. You get to choose. A lot of it is if you can't choose something, it's perspective, right? Number 15, this is the last one. You have fun. If you are truly free, you spend a lot of your time in a state of joy and contentment. You're not anxiously anticipating the future or a better day. You're not waiting for permission to enjoy something. You are simply living in the moment and savoring the twists and turns that come with life. And that is something I read and wrote at the very beginning from this list. I'll tell you, I am lucky because I grew up in a household and in an extended family, mostly from my dad's side of the family, because we lived close to my dad's side of the family. And there was a real feeling of freedom, of patriotism, living in a republic, what our forefathers went through, and realizing the gift that we were given just by being born in a country like the United States. And it's something that myself and my siblings have always really cherished. And I think as certain things have happened around the world where these freedoms have been encroached on, it's very glaring to those of us who grew up with that perspective and that worldview, that mindset. I think that we are able to take freedom into our own hands by doing and realizing many of these things that might not, it's not like picking up a weapon and going and fighting for our freedoms that way. I know that there's many people in the military that have done that over the decades, and it's something that all of us are grateful for. I think there's a lot of beautiful truths that are coming out that might be hard to look at for some people because their perspective, their worldview was never opened up in the way that I know that mine was. I think it's a beautiful time to be alive and to be grateful for the freedoms we have, and to realize it's important to protect them and take our part in protecting them and standing up in the little ways in our life that do protect them. I'm beyond grateful that I was born into a family that cherished it and talked about it as we were growing up, and we were very, very young kids. This was something I probably could have done a little bit better job as a mother and as a parent, even though I know my children are both aware of the freedoms and the blessings that we have living in this world. I don't think I really appreciated the depth that my parents, especially my dad, I think back on some of the things that he said when I was a teenager and even in my 20s and 30s before he passed away. He was, I was in my 30s when he passed away. And I think about some of the conversations we had, and I didn't respond with the depth of knowing that I have now, of course, because I couldn't at that point. But my perspective has deepened and is enriched by the experiences especially of these last 3.5 years, and the way I look at things that happened, even things I look at what happened after 9/11 and some of the things that were put into place. You hear the idea of once a freedom is taken, it's almost never returned to human beings. When people in power put things in place that remove our freedoms for our safety and our convenience, we need to be really aware. We need to say no. We need to stand up collectively for those of us who see that, and one person at a time, one situation at a time. I've reached a point where I don't want to support businesses and companies that don't take cash anymore. I see things that are coming down the pipeline, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to spend my money with companies that have the same beliefs that I do, and I think this is what we can each individually do. Everybody gets the choice, especially if you live in places like the U.S. where we have the choice and where we spend our money, and we vote with things like our dollars, and I think this is the way we move forward, and we maintain our freedom of being a sovereign human being. So I hope that you have a beautiful weekend. Whatever you do to celebrate, I know we keep things pretty low key here. We don't really even do fireworks. We enjoy the fireworks that our neighbors do. We used to do them when our kids were at home and etc. But I think that freedom to me is especially Independence Day, July 4th, is a time where I go into deep reflection. I like to go on a hike. I like to be in Mother Nature. In fact, yesterday I went on a beautiful hike with Brian. We're not hiking this morning. He's got plans with his fiance, and I'm going to be having brunch with a couple of my other siblings. But on the 4th of July, this is a day where I spend a lot of time by myself, because this is deep reflection for the blessings that I have. The place where I live, I know there's a lot of people who don't live in the type of freedom that I am blessed to in my family, and I think that putting out the gratitude for the freedoms that I have is extremely important, and I don't ever want to take them for granted. It's been a really interesting week. I'm just going to end with this. I went to the memorial this week of a very, very dear friend who passed away way too young. She was a couple weeks shy of 60, and she's been one of my dear friends and a hiking buddy for more than 20 years. I'm very, very close to her and her husband, and she was just one of those people that lived life with unconditional love. She changed people. Her memorial was one of the most beautiful, beautiful tributes to a loving human being that I've ever attended in my life. And it was just a reminder of this gift we have every day, to be alive and breathing and affecting others and living in a place of fun and joy and laughter and counting our blessings and changing our perspectives, all of the stuff. So I hope your day and your weekend is wonderful wherever you are in the world, and let's be grateful. Let's be grateful for each breath we take, and let's be responsible for the freedoms that we have and the freedoms that we maintain and that we keep. Go back over this little list. I'll put it below this video, these 15 things, and implement them and keep them close to your heart, because freedom, we're born free, and it's our job to maintain and really protect our freedoms as individual human beings on this planet. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. 24 minutes in. I love you guys. I love the connection we have. I hope you have a brilliant, brilliant day. Subscribe if you're not. And we will see you next week.